Okay, so on tonight's episode of the Conley podcast, we've got myself, Ant Daniels.
And Toby.
And it's a pleasure to have on tonight Mike Wooten.
Nice.
Welcome, Mike.
Cheers, yeah. Thanks for having me.
No, it's great to have you on. It's a pleasure. So how we're going to start, Mike, is tell us about what you were like growing up. Where did you grow up?
So my goal, really, half posh. But yeah, originally I was born up in Scotland, but ended up moving back down. My mum and dad aren't from Scotland. My dad was up there with work. Ended up moving back down, living in Maghull. And yeah, I mean, growing up, lucky really. I had a boss childhood, you know what I mean? I was lucky, good family, and you know, family had all looked after me and led me down the right path, you know what I mean? So I think it was a bit of a shock when I ended up going down the career path I did. But yeah, like it was pretty normal childhood, you know what I mean?
So what school did you go to?
Maricourt.
Oh, Maricourt.
Yeah, so it was nice. It was sound. Well, it wasn't nice. It was sound.
So when you were in Maricourt and growing up, did you do many other sports?
Yeah. I probably got into rugby more than football. Wasn't the best football player, and then ended up kind of getting steered into the rugby route. You know, the school, it wasn't particularly big in the school, but you know, it's something that they encourage you to do, which I took an interest in. And around the same, from an early age, I've been doing traditional martial arts. I started it when I was about 6. And yeah, so I started that when I was young, and then secondary school started playing a little bit of rugby. And I probably continued to just play a bit of rugby and do, traditional martial arts until I was probably about 16. Left the traditional martial arts route then, started going to a normal gym. And then kind of, my experience of MMA kind of started from there then.
Yeah. So that's a young age to start martial arts. What actually got you into it? Did someone take you? Or?
Yeah, my mum really. I think my mum and dad, I was just, I remember as you are as a kid, you go through and do loads of different things, don't you, after school, and your parents are always trying to encourage you to try different things, swimming, any other little things. And I remember my mum saying, "Oh, well, there's like a jiu-jitsu class on down, at the local town hall it was, on a Friday night, you should go." And that was it then. Yeah, I started, and it was only one day a week. It was only on a Friday night, but it was good. And it didn't particularly, the skills that I learned from that haven't particularly crossed over into like MMA, so to say, but it gives you loads of different things, gives you like discipline, gives you, just general fitness, well-being, take instructions well, gives you, good athletic abilities and things like that. And I'd done that until, as I say, I was about 16, but a little bit bored when it was a Friday night. In the end, I decided that was a little bit, at that age, at 16, up to other things on a Friday night. But it was good. 16-year-old things. But yeah, it was good. It was a good foundation for me, I felt. The guy who taught me at the time, Dave Bell, he was quite he was a young sensei at the time, and he was boss with you, with the kids, you know what I mean? He was on your level, and when you got to a certain age with it, and you got to I got my junior black belt in it, which, after a certain amount of time, you got the opportunity to go for, and it was good. Like he started as you got a little bit older. He didn't kind of follow just the traditional martial arts path. He did push it a little bit more, so you'd end up doing little bits of sparring and loads of grappling training, which probably weren't things that at the time were done in traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu. But yeah, and he was good. He was quality. He was a quality little coach. He was good.
Yeah. So where was your first MMA gym?
My first MMA gym, it wasn't really a gym. My first MMA gym, I was training in the Cheshire Lions in Maghull, which was a weightlifting gym, yeah. And they had I was just lifting weights at the time, and they had a little bit of another martial arts class upstairs, which I was reluctant to go to at first because I wanted to just get massive on the weights at that age, but kind of got a little bit bored of it because I didn't really know what I was doing. So ended up going up there anyway, and after a few sessions, kind of got introduced to one of the guys who was. It wasn't an MMA session, but it was. They were doing a lot of grappling stuff, and a guy called Darren at the time, and he introduced me to my good mate John Edge, and then from there it kind of carried. It went a little bit mad from there because John and Darren and another lad then decided we're just going to start running our own MMA promotion called Octagon Events.
Yeah.
John is going to headline it, who's never had an MMA fight before, but at the time was up and game. You know, he's game for anything, John. And he went to me, and you're going to fight on it? And I was like, I'm definitely not going to fight on that, you know. Like, I'm just not, because it wasn't like, at the time, you know, I didn't realise what was involved, you know, to compete in MMA or to compete in any combat sport at even an amateur level. And they were like, no, you're going to do it, you're going to fight on it. I was like, no, I'm not going to. And then in the end, you know, you end up kind of saying, go ahead, I'll do it then. And that was probably, you know, like, it sounds silly. I was 17 at the time. You know, I wasn't like a fighter as a kid or like the hard case or anything, you know. I had a few little run-ins and tussles and that, but, you know, conflict wasn't something that I was particularly like, you know, fond of at the time. You know, it's something you're trying to avoid. So the concept of actually going and having an organised fight was a little bit alien to me. I was a little bit like, am I really going to do this? Yeah. So I trained for it for a good few months, and I was terrified. Like, I didn't know what to expect, didn't know what to do. I was turning up when I was training with John and a couple of his other mates, like Eddie and those lads. And we turn up, right? And we train in this place we train in this sports hall in McGull once or twice a week. And then the other sessions, John was working in a lifestyles gym in Speak. So he goes to me, Mike, come up to the gym in Speak. So I had my mum, she was taking me up and down here in 57 to Speak most nights to this lifestyles gym. And we do some training in there, you know, all kinds of different training, usually fitness stuff. But they had this like to go up to the weight part of the gym, they had like these stairs that you go up. The weight section was up these stairs, but the weight section was overlooking the pool. So like, there's everyone swimming down in the pool, there's this weight section, but in between there's like this like corridor. It's not very big, but there's glass on either side. So you're in the corridor, you're in between the weights gym and the pool downstairs. And it was just like blood sport. It was just like, you just get in there, that'd be where you'd spar. Yeah. And you just end up having full-on straighteners on this marble floor with glass either side. And as I say, it was alien to me at the time. So I'd be getting picked up by my mum and I'd be like, what's just gone on there? I didn't even, you know, what am I doing like that? But anyway, stuck with it, you know, and ended up fighting. I think, God, it must have been like 2007, maybe. I think it was. That was their first show that they ran. I fought this guy called Hamish Herbert, Scottish guy, obviously, and I won the fight. You know, I'm not afraid to say. I look back now and I think to myself, did I win the fight? I feel like the home crowd advantage, and you know, everyone, I ended up getting the win. I did end up beating him a couple of fights later, fair and square. So that set the record straight with that one. But,
so where was it?
It was in Garston. What was it? It was just a little sports hall in Garston. But you know what? For the first, you know, for the show, they only done two of them. I can't remember why I didn't end up carrying on, but it was a quality little show. Like, you know, it was a good little production. You know what I mean? And
was just making weight and stuff like that.
Yeah, we were making weight at the time. I was young, so I think at the time I made 66 kilo. It was all professionally done. You know, you make weight. You know, the lads who you fought at the time, they were all decent lads. And as I say, like, it was my first go. I didn't even know what. You just kind of went into just instinct mode. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was. And then the second fight I fought on there again, I beat a guy called Declan Williams who's a good kid. And then after that, they stopped the shows then. And I was still training with John. But kind of at that point, I was working at the time. It wasn't like something I was going, you know, one day, you know, I want to be this, I want to be that. At the time, I was still working. And when, after kind of like the shows had stopped, I wasn't going to Speak anymore. John had said to me, we kind of need to look at where we're going to start, you know, training now, because we weren't really training in a proper MMA gym. There was a few of them about Liverpool, nowhere near as many as there are now, but you know, we were just kind of doing our own thing. So from there, we ended up kind of going and training with at Next Gen at the time, which was Paul Rimmer, Jason Tan, and Peter Davis. It was the three of them running it, and I was there for a while until they split, and Jason and Peter formed the MMA Academy, and I went over and trained with those guys, and that's where I am now.
So did you do any amateur bouts or anything like that? Yeah,
they were amateur. Well, they weren't amateur; they were semi-professional. Yeah, didn't really have amateur back when I done it. It was like it was just called semi-pro, And it was that weird rule set. It was like you'd fight 3 5-minute rounds, whereas nowadays you fight 3 3-minute rounds. You'd have pro gloves on, which is like wearing, a pair of gloves to go outside. And it was like full head contact, stood up, no elbows. I don't think you could knee to the head. But when you got on the ground, you couldn't punch them in the head. You could only punch to the body. So it was a bit of a rule set. Now the modern amateur rule set in MMA now is shorter rounds. You wear a slightly bigger glove. And then on the ground, you can punch to the head as well on the ground. So it gives them a little bit of a more realistic kind of transition from when they decide to go from amateur over to pro. There's not like, a big difference in the rule set.
Did they wear head guards and stuff like that? No, or was that all just being like boxing? It's just all being.
Yeah, they never did in MMA because of the grappling aspect of it.
I see. Yeah.
What I say? I'm not sure if they did in. If Zorba ran a promotion like ACB back in the day, and they might have had head guards on. But for the majority of them, they don't wear head guards in amateur. Yeah. Just with the grappling, like when you get put in guillotines and people are taking you back, you got this big massive head guard on. You can't get your head out of the locks and that. So you're stuck there.
So you say you went straight over to the MMA Academy when they split up and stuff like that. Is that where you went pro as well from there? Yeah, basically. I was still working at the time. I finished like an electrical apprenticeship, and then I was working like nights. And yeah, I had another amateur or semi-pro fight with them, and then after that, Jason and Peter said to me, have you considered, you should maybe consider having a look at having a pro bout, because back then I mentioned it before, like the amateur scene now is massive. Like on most pro shows, they have an amateur undercard, or they have some shows that are just full of amateur fights. The most weekends, not obviously now with what's been going on, but it's so easy for fighters nowadays, young lads nowadays, to get involved in the amateur scene. Start getting fights, through the year, 3, 4, 5 fights maybe in a year. And in a couple of years' time, they might have had 10 fights, 12 fights, and then they've got so much kind of experience. By the time that they transition to pro, there's no real jump. It's quite smooth for them. Longer rounds, a few different rules and that. But they've been training they've had that much experience. It's really easy for them kind of to make that transition. But as I say, when I was fighting, it was like the shows were kind of few and far between. They weren't really every weekend, or you'd have to travel. I ended up going up to the northeast, Catterick Garrison, I think it was on an army base. I'm fighting the same guy I fought in my first fight for like one of my other semi-pro fights that I had. And you had to do quite a little bit of travelling to do it. As I say, nowadays it's much easier for people, young lads, to kind of get the experience with the amateur fights, but it wasn't so easy when I was doing it. So that's why I only really had three semi-pro fights and then went pro. Whereas now lads will have 10, 12, maybe even more amateur fights and then end up going pro. It's a bit easier for them.
So when you first started getting into the pro game, were you working at the same time as well? Did you would have left school then?
Yeah, I was working. I was working. I was working nights, and then I think maybe 4 pro fights before I kind of decided I was going to quit my job and pursue it properly. But in between, I was lucky really, because the job I had, I was working like two day shifts, 2 12-hour days, 2 12-hour nights, and then you get 4 days off. So the 2 12-hour days that I was in, I'd be able to go and train in the night. The 2 12-hour nights I could train in the morning, and then your 4 days off, you'd be in twice a day. So it was quite easy for me to get like, not easy, but I had the opportunity to get as much training in as I needed to, which was good.
Yeah. So you started winning in such a tough sport there. So then it was that thing you're thinking, I can do this for a living. I can make a proper career out of this then.
Yeah, I don't really remember thinking to myself like, this is it. This is what I want to do. But I just kind of remember thinking to myself, if I want to give myself the best chance of winning, then I'm gonna have to kind of take that step. You know what I mean? And I was living at home at the time with my parents, so it wasn't too bad. I didn't really have many like financial restraints or things that I needed to make loads of money for. So I was able to kind of just say,
put a lot of time into it. I left my job. I started coaching as well, doing a bit of private tuition to help keep some money coming in. Which I also think helps you come on as a fighter. As you having to teach people techniques, you having to break it down systematically. That is then better for you, I think, as an athlete, because you're able to put things into practice a little bit easier. But yeah, I was able to just completely focus on it. Train twice a day, run every couple of days, and live that lifestyle that is required really to kind of progress at a high level.
How was your parents with you moving, so leaving your job to I'm going to be a fighter sort of thing? How was that transition?
J and P run the gym, and my coaches will tell you, like, at the time, they were in to speak to them. It wasn't just well, go on, you go and do what you want. But weirdly, where I was working at the time, my dad worked there too, and I'd kind of I'd had an interview with this guy, like, for a bit of a promotion from an external firm, but they done work inside where we were. And my dad rang me one day and was like, Mike, listen, Ken's going to offer you this job. He's going to offer you the job. And I was like, just finishing off me brekkie, sat next to Jason after just having the conversation of, you're going to leave your job and go pro. So I was like, is he yet, Dad? That's good, isn't it? Sound all right, I'll see you later. And I just put the phone down, and I remember thinking to myself, what am I going to do here? Like, my dad's like, I knew what I wanted to do, you know what I mean? But my dad had no idea that I was about to come home and say to him, I don't want that job, by the way. I'm now going to go and live the life of a professional fighter. So I went and after that I went and spoke to a couple of other lads who I used to train with, John and Andy McGurgan, and I was like, what am I going to do here? And they said, I'll just, it'll be sound. And I'll worry myself sick. But obviously it was a shock to them, like my mum and dad, they're of that age group, and that, as a lot of parents are, of, get a job, earn your money, get a house, have your, and that kind of thing. So when, your son's saying, I don't want any of that, I just want to focus on fighting, it was a bit of a blow to them. But you know what? Initially, they were, not questioning it, but a bit suspect of it. And
there wasn't quite a lot of that around at the time, was there either?
There wasn't. No,
and it's a dangerous sport as well.
It was a dangerous sport, and they'd not seen much of it. You got the odd UFC on Bravo back in the day. It was Robbie Lawler ironing people out left, right, and centre. And my mum and dad are sat there watching it, going, "Oh my God,
this is what you want to get into.
What is he going to do?" You know what I mean? So it was. I wouldn't say it was tough for them, but it definitely was something. At first, they were probably questioning, but they supported me right the way through it. They've always been, dead supportive of me and encouraged me as much as they could. So it made a big difference, I think.
Did they go to your fights?
Yeah, they've always gone. They always went to all the fights. My mum hid behind a handbag.
I think like most mums probably would, to be fair. I think mine would be the same.
Hid behind a handbag. And then, as time went on, they were then joined with me now wife, girlfriend at the time. They had her screaming, my mum behind the handbag, and so it was good. It was always nice to, if you want to put a smile on their face, you do it for yourself, obviously, but it's nice to not let people down by getting the win or performing well or something like that. It's nice to see all them, because at the time I was living with my mum and dad and I was with my girlfriend. They're the ones that see it day in, day out. They see what you kind of go through, and even though you turn up to the gym, you train hard, you'd have a laugh with the lads. There's a lot of time where if you're not in the gym, you're sat at home and you're thinking about it, and you're thinking about what if this happens and what if that happens, and sometimes your mind can be your worst enemy. You can end up kind of worrying yourself. You don't need to worry about them things. You just need to turn up, train, make weight, fight. It's obviously not as simple as that. We always have a tendency to kind of worry ourselves over things that what will be on the night. I did do that. I used to spend a lot of time overthinking it. So when you win and you have that relief for yourself and you see them happy, it's probably what makes a lot of people, and what made me want to keep doing it, because it kind of becomes a little bit like a drug. Winning was a little bit like a drug. That feeling, you probably see, watch any like of my fights, and you see a lot of people's fights, that like 30 seconds after the fight where you've won, you can't be responsible for anything you say or do in them 30 seconds, because it's just raw emotion. You see people jumping on the cage, trying to do backflips, throwing gum shields out, giving people a finger. It's just a big build up of pent up, emotion and relief. It's really, it's relief a lot of the time. And I think that winning is what brings a lot of people back to, not any combat sport, any sport, especially sports that are one-on-one, you versus just another person. It can, when you're in there, it's a battle, isn't it? It's a battle of attrition, it's a battle of skills, fitness, a battle of loads of different things. And when you win, it's always that relief of winning. It's nice. Yeah.
So I've spoken to quite a few people, obviously, about you because you're coming on the show and stuff like that, and everyone said the same thing. You're a nice guy, easy going.
Yeah.
How do you change from being that type of person to going into a fight? Does it build up throughout the camp? Do you get really aggressive towards the end of camp? Do you get pissed off? How's that work throughout that camp to get into the cage and fight?
I think I kind of treated it a little bit more a sport more than anything. I didn't take anything personal, with regards to opponents or things like that. I probably would, I'd work myself up, not in the sense of, I want to smash this guy, I want to do this, I wouldn't do that. It was always, I work myself up and me not wanting to let people down, and wanting to perform. As I say, I did treat it as more of a sport and more of a test of skill against your opponent. Obviously, it's a fight. It is a test of skill, but at the end of the day, it's a fight. You know what I mean? You do what you need to do in there to win. But as I say, I'm not an aggressive person really by nature. But I'm just, all I try and say to myself is, my big thing was, if I could stand in the cage opposite the guy that I was facing and say to myself, I know I've done everything in my power to win this fight. Yeah. I'll go out there and give it my best now, win, lose or draw. But I know I've done everything. Then, regardless of the results, I'd have been content knowing that I'd done everything in my power to win the fight. Yeah. It's never as easy as that. Obviously, the other guy wants to win too, so that sometimes poses its problems. But I didn't really feel like I needed to get myself, you get yourself psyched up, you know what I mean? You get yourself in the zone, you get yourself pumped in a way, and you kind of learn how to do that, I guess. But, I didn't really feel like I needed to months before or weeks before start calling people out or turning it personal to kind of generate this kind of make-believe battle between me and my opponents. I just treated it as as just a test of skill, really, and just went out.
That's a great way of looking at that, because you ask different sports people, they have different answers, you see. That's why I asked you. I wanted to know what your feelings was towards it. So
definitely. I think it depends on your personality. I think I know some people feel like they, and you know what you do see a lot of it. When you're in a fighter's changing room. And you see, all the different teams and all the different individuals. Yeah. Some people are super cool and literally got their earphones in, sit there 10 minutes, basically asleep, 10 minutes before they're due to fight. When they got their hands wrapped, they get up, have a little move around, go out and put on a boss performance. Wow. Other people are I've got heavy metal music on and getting themselves pumped up, everyone screaming and shouting in the change rooms. There is such a difference in how people need to get themselves in the zone, and it's just down to you as an individual. As I say, it's just how what gets you ready to kind of do your best, and that's what it is. You just got to go out there and try and do your best. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's enough. Sometimes it's enough. Yeah.
A number of fighters we've spoke to, they focus on visualization within the camp. Is that something that you've done yourself?
Yeah, I did used to do a bit of it, especially more towards the end of the camp. The end of my career. And towards the end of the camp, spend a lot of time shadow boxing and spend it. Maybe I know you can
there's a lot of different types you can just visualize, just sat down. But I used to like trying to visualize, like I put myself in the cage and I'd like kind of imagine that my opponent was in front of me and what I'd be doing if they were doing this and you know, what I'm going to do if it, you know. But yeah, I would definitely do it. I think it's really good to do. Just kind of get you in that mindset to win and you know, thinking, you know, I'm going to have an answer for him if this happens, or I'm going to have an answer for him if that happens and things like that. So I do think it's good to do.
Yeah. How technical were your camps? Were the all technical and stuff like that, or were the game planned, or did you just go out there and try and cover every area in training?
Yeah, the camps were technical. I feel like with MMA, it's just such a big sport. Like there's so many different kind of areas to cover: striking, grappling, wrestling, stuff against the cage. You know, it's really big. So I feel like a lot of the technical stuff tends to be done. A lot, not the technical stuff, but a lot of your improving, like your learning of new abilities, is done out of camp. Because when you're in camp, you should really be trying to just focus on sharpening the tools that you have, getting them ready for, you know, you're not going to learn something new 2 weeks before a fight. Be able to drill it to perfection, implement it in sparring, be comfortable and confident that it works, and then go out and do it on the night. You just can't. Well, I'm not saying you can't, but odds are you can't. You're not going to be able to do that. So all that kind of stuff that, you know, new stuff that you're trying to add to your techniques is done. New techniques, sorry, that you're trying to add is often done, you know, outside the camp, and then inside the camp, you know, it's usually phased. It's kind of like you're trying to get fit, get your weight down early on. Harder sparring's done earlier on, a little bit more towards the middle of camp, and then as the fight gets a little bit closer, the hard sparring tapers down. Sometimes reducing the amount of contact you're doing, so you know, it limits the amount of opportunities for injury and things like that. I know everyone does it differently. You know, every camp does it differently as well. You know, everyone has their own methods. I mean, you know, they're always super technical in a sense. You know, analysing your sparring, what you should and shouldn't have done. As the fight gets closer, you know, you're trying to implement a game plan in your sparring. So a lot of the time, you know, earlier on or in spars out of camp, you just spar with kind of no agenda. You just, you know, spar. You try and win the round. As the fight comes closer, you know, maybe you're fighting a guy who's really good grappling and you're trying to avoid grappling with him. You spend a lot more time focusing on in your sparring, trying to not get taken down, you know, things like that. Just depends as well. But at the same time, you can't be too specific because there's nothing to say that a week before you fight, your opponent's not just going to pull out and someone else is going to step in who's completely different. So it is important to kind of, you know, start working towards something, but, you know, you want your skill set to be good enough that if whatever happens on the day or, you know, a few days leading up to it, you're in a position to kind of fight whoever turns up, you know what I mean? So that's important, I think.
So we're aware that you were in the Ultimate Fighter, which is a great opportunity for anyone who wants to progress on in MMA. How does that come about?
Girlfriend, my wife at the time. I had my wife, girlfriend at the time, my wife. I think I might have just fought a guy called Jody Collins, and I think I might have been prepping for another fight, and it kind of come about on, I think it was, the site was called Your MMA at the time. I don't think they're going anymore, but excuse me, they advertised that the trials are taking place for the Ultimate Fighter, season 18 it was at the time, and the weights were bantamweight and featherweight. I don't think they were going to potentially do both weights, but it was the first year that they were going to do male and female contestants. So I was, as I said, I think I was in the middle of a fight camp at the time, and I just came home one day and I was just saying to Christine, doing trials there for the Ultimate Fighter, blah blah blah. So she said, "Are you going to go for it?" And I was like, I don't know. And then she ended up talking me into it anyway. So I said to Jason and P, I was like, "Listen, do you reckon you'll defo go do it?" So the trials are in Vegas, but you have to apply first. So they send over a generic kind of application form. You have to fit certain criteria. You've got to have it. Generally, you've got to have it a bit MMA. I think you have to have over four pro fights, be under a certain age, and a few other little things anyway. So I applied for it.
few days later, they emailed me back saying, "Oh, you know, we'd love to have you over. You should come over to the trials." So, excuse me. So, that was it then. Like, literally flew to Vegas. I went over at the time with my mate Aaron Aby, who was competing at the time and still is competing now in MMA. He came over to the trials with me, and we stayed in what was the hotel called? I can't remember. It was out the way anyway, and I'm pretty sure that the Fertitta brothers, who were part of the UFC, they own these casinos.
Oh yeah.
We stayed in there. It was out the way from the strip, like, and the trials were in like this conference centre upstairs, and I knew a few other lads who were going for doing the trials as well. Davey Grant, who's now in the UFC, he done them with me as well, and there was a couple of other guys, and it was one of the most surreal experiences, really. Like, I walked up the stairs or up the escalator, and there must have been 150, maybe 200 people. Maybe there wasn't that many, but it seemed like that many because there was men and women there as well. And there's all kinds of people turning up. Like, there's these guys who are like, turning up in full like Spartan like armor and things like that, and these other guys are walking in with like strippers on their arms and things like that, and I'm thinking to myself,
Kobe covers them, was it?
Look at it. I was like, look at these jokers here. Have I missed something here? Should I be doing something ridiculous? And I just turned around like this, and I just going like, is that Davey? Like that, Davey Grant has turned up in a full Jerry Halliwell rig out, the full Great Britain flag.
Oh yeah,
in a dress though, like a proper short dress. He's got these white boots on, like these white stilettos, and this hat. And my eyesight's not the best now. It was better back then. And I'm squinting and I'm going, "Who's that?" And then they start waving at me, so I'm thinking, must be someone with Davey. I didn't know he was over with it, and I'm going, that's Davey, like that. And I'm going, he's making a bit, he's a gent, Davey Grant. He's comedy gold, you know what I mean? He's absolutely hilarious. And everyone was buzzing off, and we all had a good laugh. Like, and the trial format was good. It was, you got given a number, you got called into a room. There might be 20 odd guys in the room. You got asked to roll in front of Sean Shelby and a couple of other people, which we did. It was only like 90 seconds. It was like the most frantic roll, grapple and everything. Just to go mad.
Chaos. Like.
But as he said later on, at that point, kind of a lot of it's based off your records. Even if I didn't do very well, and the guy I rolled with, he definitely got the better of me in the 90 seconds that we rolled. But his name didn't get called and my name got called. So like I went on. I was thinking to myself, that's a bit, I was thinking to myself, surely, obviously it wasn't meant to be. So finished that, and then you were asked to hit pads. Once you hit pads, you went away for a little bit, and then they called you back, and then you done like an interview with some of the producers trying to get a feel for you. Because obviously, I know it's a show, isn't it? It's a reality TV show. You're there really to fight, but also you kind of need to not be too boring. They're trying to, as well, and they're probably trying to get a feel for mixing different personalities to try and create that little maybe some
bit of animosity,
bit of conflict and things like that. So, so at the end of that day, they kind of call everyone that's coming back again. So I was lucky; my name got called. At this point, Adam went and met Jason because Jason was training in LA at the time. He'd gone to visit some family, so he flew from Vegas to LA. I stayed for another 5 days, done a couple more interviews, medicals, eye tests, blah blah blah. Then they said to me, right, we'll be in touch, get ready for roughly this date. It looks like you're going to have to fight to get on the show, so if you turned, you'd have to turn up, fight, and if you won, you'd get on, and if you lost, you wouldn't. So I went and met Jason and Aaron, then done a little bit more training, flew back, got ready, and then got the email. But the email was just come through, and it was like right, you're on the show. Get ready for. I think it was like I was going in like 10 days or something. Get ready, your flight's booked for this day. I need all the paperwork signed. I'm back to you like by tomorrow. And he sent the amount of paperwork to send through. I was like that. I was like, oh my God, like, I didn't even know where to start. Didn't even look at any of it. Just signed it all. Emailed it all back, packed my bags, went, and then that was it then. Yeah, the trials were one thing, but then the experience from, fighting and getting on the show and being on the show was another thing.
So, for that first fight to get onto the show, did you have to make weight for that? Mm-hmm. So you literally had to go over, get prepared, make weight, and then go onto the show. So the pre-show, as it's called, isn't it?
Yeah, so it was like, so Davey, obviously, he was on the show with me, so he got called over to Paddy Houlihan as well, another guy from SBG in Ireland. Yeah. He got called. I think I would like to be on the same flight as Davey. I'm not sure, but anyway, ended up there. I think maybe like 4 or 5 days before, and he said to us, you're gonna have to make weight, and once you've made weight, we'll all then go to like the Ultimate Fighter gym, and you'll kind of get told who you're gonna fight. So the hard bit was the making of the weight. Made the weight. After I made the weight, went and got drawn against a Swedish guy called Emil Hartzner, who was unbeaten at the time. He was good, good kid. The first time I'd ever fought anyone taller than me. I was always for the weight category, like tall, but this guy was like 6'2". It wasn't a pick on him, you know what I mean? But he was a big dude. But obviously we fought. I ended up beating him. I think I won the first. He beat me in the first round. I think I won the second, and then normally they're just 2 rounds.
2 rounds, isn't it?
2 rounds, but because they couldn't really decide, they said, "Oh, we'll do a third round." So managed to beat him in the third round, which was nice. And I was on then, and that was a great. So my dad came. Oh, this is the weirdest thing, though, right? So my dad. Normally, you're not allowed any like friends or family, but I think for the season before and this one and a few others since, they said, if your family member wants to come over, they can apply. They can kind of be vetted, and then they can go. So my dad applied, got past vetting, and goes. So my dad's there, and I'm like, my dad's not a fighting guy. You know what I mean? He's not like he's not soft, but he's not a fighting guy. And he's got no real clue about the technicalities of MMA. So I fought before Davey, I think. So like Davey wasn't even kind of about, and we just got assigned these like random corner team. Like obviously they were the coaches of it. In the end, ended up making great mates with some of them. But they didn't know me. I didn't know them. I haven't got Jason there. I haven't got none of my coaches there. You know what I mean? So you're kind of just there, stood across the cage opposite this guy, and like you start moving around with him, and then you just realise you're like, all I can hear here is me dad. Like, and he just hasn't, God bless him, man. Like, he flew all the way to Vegas, but he just hasn't got a clue what he's saying. It was like I was having a fight in a pub, and like outside the pub, and my dad was just going, "Come on, Mike, get him, lad, get him, like, shot, lad." And, he just started heckling me. But obviously, I ended up winning, and I give my dad a big hug, and he sends me. Goes back then and is able to tell, everyone that I'm able, I got in and things like that, because there's no contact then. Yeah, it's 6 weeks of kind of no books, no internet, no phones, no music, no newspapers, nothing like that. It's literally like in the house, up, train, come back home, rest. Back again, train, go to bed. That was the process. Weren't easy.
How did you find that? Because I can imagine.
Yeah. What's with the no music?
It's like trying to just kind of encourage conversation, and then which obviously leads to conflict. And we were dead lucky. We were the first season that had, half of the house was women and half of the house was men. So immediately, that's 50% less people that I have to fight. So. It's 50% less testosterone, 50% less chances, everyone got on well in there. Like, all the girls were cool, all the guys were cool. And, obviously initially, like, you get in there and the novelty is amazing. You're in this house in Vegas, it's boiling hot, like, there's a pool out the back, like, you get given this like piece of paper every day, and everyone's assigned 2 A4 lines. The house is stocked up with everything that you need. What you want specifically to eat or to drink, or anything personal. You get these 2 A4 lines, so you learn the art of filling these 2 A4 lines with
the
smallest handwriting you've ever done, like that, like writing this tiny handwriting. And then you'd wake up the next day and your food would be there, and it was just, and then the gym, you're training and you're training with, I was training with Ronda Rousey at the time, and all their coaches, Edmund and Manny Gamburian, and, some really good training partners, some really good coaching. And then as time goes on and you start to miss home and you're fatigued and you've made weight again, you've potentially got to make weight again a few more times. Spoke to anyone from home. It gets tough. You know what I mean? Still focused on that, but your demeanor, it just gets hard. I was lucky really because like Davey, me and Davey, we knew each other before we went over there. Obviously, we got to know each other really well when we were there. But when we were over there, we were able to kind of help each other along a little bit. You know what I mean? Americans don't really get it's the same.
It's so different.
Like me and David be having conversations and just look at you as if to go like, what have you just even said? You know what I mean? But
it's funny because we were talking about it about being in Vegas and how different they are. You know what I mean? Americans, it's so different, aren't they? The personalities and everything. It's just
it is. They are different. Obviously, me and David fit in, really well over there, and we were lucky. Everyone got on with each other. At first, people are trying to feel each other out, and everyone's got the best, they're kind of like looking at you like this, to say, what's your game? But like, I didn't really have no game over there. Like I knew half the guys who they all were before I went over. I remember speaking Chris Holdsworth, no spoilers, but Chris Holdsworth, the guy who goes on to win the show. He kind of, I remember seeing him. I had heard of him before. I knew him. I remember seeing him. I remember like looking at him and being like, that's that Chris Holdsworth. I had to see him at the trials. So like, as you do, you kind of like make eye contact, and I'll smile or let on to anyone, what I mean? But I was kind of like, that's that Chris Holdsworth. He's good to him, you know what I mean? So I was just kind of giving him a nod and a little thumbs up like that, and he just blanked me, thinking, this guy, So I'm like that 2 days in, like that, thinking this kid blanked me at the trial, so that's it. Now I'm not speaking to him. But obviously I did, and I was, and then as time goes on, and then he actually said to me one night, he was like, "Oh man, I remember seeing you at the trials and thinking, that guy's cool. He's just, he's just like, I remember thinking, you blank me. But he was a nice lad, you know what I mean? Yeah. And they were all good guys, and they're all, I still keep in touch with them loosely, you know what I mean? Even though it's been, it's 2030, it's only been a long time. But it was a good experience.
Quite sad what's happened to him as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah, so he stopped, went on to win the show, beat Davey in the final, went on after winning the show, got it to have his contract, and he suffered a few concussions that he's kind of decided to take a step back from it and fulfill more of a coaching role at Team Alpha Male, which has always been one of the biggest gyms about, you know what I mean? It's got a really good pedigree, and it seems like he's fit in there really. He was training there anyway, and it seems like he's fit into the coaching role really well there, so he's doing well.
So you were on Ronda Rousey's team then, the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
What was it like when you first found out Ronda Rousey was going to be the coach? Were you excited about that? And did you spend much time with her? Does she coach much when she was there? Or is it a case of Ronda comes in, they do the little bit of the video footage, and then you train with air coaches?
No, you spend a lot of time training with her, a lot of time. I guess, I didn't really care. I didn't really care whose team I was on because it was Ronda versus Misha. Like I was just made up to be there. And I remember beating the guy to get in the house. And I remember, after that, you're in, you're like, boom, I'm in. I can't believe it. I'm so happy. And then you're all stood there, everyone who got in, and they do the team picks then. Yeah. So Ronda's there and Misha's there, and they do like a coin flip. And I think it's a weird way to either like get to pick the first fight or have the first pick. So I think they got to pick whoever won. Decided to pick. You start picking, and I'm going, oh yeah, that's on that team. And I was thinking to myself, sound. I was thinking, there's not many people left here. And I'm going,
just don't be the last pick, Mike. just don't be the last pick. Because me fight I beat Emil, the guy to get in the house. I did what I needed to do so in. Like, I'd had a terrible weight cut. Like, I was in a bad way. I'm surprised the doctor even passed me, like, after I made to fight. And I beat him. And, you know, I was just made up to beat him. Like, but then I was made up to beat him. And I was thinking, oh my God, don't be last pick. And lo and behold, I was the last pick. And you know what? You look back at all the fights and you can probably see why. Because it just, you know, it wasn't the most exciting fight of the night. You know,
the American coaches probably know the American lads as well, don't they?
They probably do, you know, like Holsworth got snapped up dead quick. Davey Grant guillotined, I think, Danny Martinez, was it? Who, like, you know, had Dominic Cruz there cornering him. You know, this Danny Martinez was meant to go on the show and win, you know what I mean? And Davey just got, see you later, mate. Like, that off. So, like, he got snaffled up quick, you know what I mean? Quality performances. So yeah, when obviously I was thinking, just don't get picked last. So I got picked last anyway, but I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to make it my personal. I'm going to show to them. I'm going to do my best to show to them that I shouldn't have been the last pick. So, but with regards to training, and that Ronda was in every session. That's cool. Obviously, because she's got to fight Misha at the end of it as well on the thing, you know. So she was on every session. You know, you train with her most days. You train, you know. Everyone trained twice a day. Spend a lot of time training. They had Manny, who was competing, or I don't know if he was still competing in the UFC at the time. He was a featherweight, lightweight kind of. And then they had another guy there called Andy Germain, who was their wrestling coach. He was a really good wrestler. Marina was Ronda's mate. She was competing maybe in Invicta at the time, or she was planning on. I can't really remember. And then you had Edmund, who's Ronda's head coach, who, you know, gets a lot of stick, and has got a lot of stick over the years. But, like, you know, I felt like he was a good coach. You know, he was competent. He really knew how to kind of communicate with you, to get you in the zone. He was dead. He was just dead. He's Armenian. He was dead passionate. You know what I mean? Kind of like. Everything he told you, you could tell he meant it. You know what I mean? And like he did loads for me. Like I thought he was a good coach. But the training was good, and the training, it wasn't like the most kind of, you know, you weren't learning much new, because it was every other day. It was like the girls would fight. So the girls fight, get called who was fighting. The next day they'd make weight. The next day they'd fight. There'd be maybe a day or two off, and then the lads would be next. So it would be then the fight gets called, you've got to make weight. So you never knew, really. You had roughly like 5 or 6 days, maybe, I can't remember, in between, where you were, you know, you could probably relax a little bit. But you were always kind of on edge, thinking like, I could be next year. Like Misha's team will call on the next lads fight. You know, it could be me. I could be fighting any one of them. So then you're then starting the process of cutting your sugars out of your food. You've started sodium loading. You've started water loading. You've cut your sugars out of your food. You know, you've started your early kind of weight cut kind of prep. And then, you know, they either call you or they don't. And then if they don't, it's like, right, well, okay, back to normal now for a few days. And then, so, you know, you were never really able to kind of relax and you know, every Sunday they'd have a day off where you'd have a day off out of the gym, but you could go to the gym to get like massages, so you'd be down there, you know, getting a massage. But it was generally twice a day, 6 days a week. The training was tough. Some of Manny's conditioning workouts were just crazy. Like, I look back now and think to myself, like, I'm sure I've tore my labrum in my hip through one of Manny's conditioning workouts. Like, it was like crazy. But he just used to have you doing these mad like 45-minute, an hour like circuits, but it was just intense for the full hour. You know what I mean? And then you'd be like, wake up the next day, you were like, oh, and you're just scraping off the bed, you get like that and that. But yeah, it was the trainer side of it was good, but the key with it was just to keep your head in the game. Really, it was so easy to kind of start. I kept a diary, and you know, I've never wrote in a diary before, and like as soon as like we got there, some people like started writing in a diary. I was like, look at these guys writing in the diary. What do you need to write in the diary for? But then after like 10 days, I was like,
diary now, you know what I mean? Started writing down everything. And I've
Get
still
it in
got
the
it.
little space you've got left.
Yeah,
A little tiny writing.
No, but I ended up filling a book, you know what I mean? And still in my mum's loft. I only ever read it once. I read it. I finished writing it on the way home from the show on the plane. Because I was just missing everyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was a bit like, I'd just been beat by the guy who won it. I had a massive cut on my eye. I had a terrible hangover. Davy Grant was still bladdered next to me on the plane. And I was like, So I finished writing it, all in there. I gave it to Christine to read. She read it, and then it got put in the loft. I've not read it since, so I'll have to get it back out at one point and give it to read, you know what I mean? Because obviously what was going on in my head then was pretty raw, you know what I mean? And pretty kind of like, you'd be up one day and you'd be down the next. I'm quite a level-headed guy, really. I don't really find myself getting like down, but I did over there. It was quite easy to kind of get, get yourself a bit down in the dumps, like.
So I know that like Ronda and Misha, they didn't like each other before the show. And I think Katzengano was supposed to be on the show, wasn't she?
Right, yeah.
And then she got injured and Misha come in, didn't she?
Yeah, that was right, yeah.
Like threw a spanner in the works and Ronda kicked off and all that. How was it watching them two argue all the way through the show sort of thing?
It was awkward, like.
Yeah.
Proper awkward. Because, I didn't dislike Misha. She was on the opposite team to me, but, she was just there to do her job.
She come across great, didn't
she? She is. She was all right. And obviously, I was team Ronda all day, you know what I mean? Like, that's one thing with Ronda's team. You were with them or you weren't.
Yeah.
And, I was with them because I just thought I was, in order of them all, really. They were boss, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, they had a few run-ins, like, it was proper awkward sometimes. Like, it just be, we went to the Red Rock, got drove to the Red Rock Casino to watch the UFC fights one night. And they put us up in the Red Rock to, like, in this, like, massive suite, like, with this outdoor pool overlooking. And I'm, like, stood there with Davey looking at the food they've got on offer, and they've got, like, pizza and that. I'm thinking, can't go near it. Like, I demolished the whole plate of pizza right now. But I was like, Davey, don't let me near it. He's like, don't let me near it. So none of us went near it. And we both just sat there. And, they're like, Misha and Ronda like snarling each other across the room. The room was massive, you know. They're like snarling each other, and I'm thinking, there's nothing. It's quite normal, this, you know. I've been here a few weeks now, used to it. And then like Ronda goes up to the bar, and then something's said, and then a glass gets smashed, and then there's murder. It kicks off. Everyone's screaming and shouting like that. So I'm sat on the couch with Davey, and like Ronda and Edmund come and sit back down next to us, and I'm just sat there. The cameras are just on you know what I mean? And I'm just sat there and I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, it felt like that escalated quickly. Like, just be cool, Mike, just be cool, kind of thing. But yeah, they were back and forth quite a bit. Obviously it's a TV show, as I say. It's, you look at most of these Ultimate Fighters, there's been some form of tension build up between both of the coaches, and it makes for good TV. There was a few funny ones. They had the coaches challenge where Ronda and Misha had to like
a wall challenge.
It was a wall. They like ended up like it was a race to climb the wall. Like I was like, the coaches challenge is cool, and then it was like I felt like a bet on a horse because like I was watching them, and either way, it was sponsored by PlayStation, Sony at the time. So the PlayStation 4 wasn't out back then, or at the time it was scheduled to come out. So everyone there got a PlayStation 4. Not then, but as soon as the PlayStation 4 comes out, we're going to send you all a PlayStation 4. So I was like, I'm a gamer, so I was like, I can't believe I got a PlayStation 4. So there's PlayStation 4 things going on, and the winning team, everyone on the winning team, whoever gets up there first, gets $1,500. So I was like, that's sound, isn't it? So they started going up, and then, like that. Go on, Ronda. And then by the end, Ronda's like, go on, Ronda! Like that, she rings the bell, and I'm like, and up that we won $1,500 that the US government decided to tax 30% off the kids.
Did they?
Yeah. I ended up going home. You ended up like getting your check at the end, and you cash it into the casino, and then you're like, what? That's not what it said on the check like that. And they go, your accountant can get you all that back. And I'm like, okay. And you go back to your accountant, and you go, you're not seeing that again. No chance. But yeah, it was good. They had some funny moments on there together, definitely.
Brilliant. What was your first fight like in there? On the show?
On the show, it was sort of I fought Emil to get on, and then I got drawn to fight Josh Hill, who at the time was I think the number one ranked Canadian outside in the UFC.
Yeah.
He'd had, he'd had more fights than me, and he was unbeaten. He'd fought Paddy Houlihan to get into the house and beat Paddy. Paddy was a dead talented, still is a talented martial artist. He beat Paddy. I kind of I knew what to expect from Josh. He got decent striking, but his strength is in is wrestling. Super, a lot shorter than me, more compact. So I kind of knew at some point, he's gonna try and take me down. So yeah, like I'd had a pretty decent weight cut. I felt like when I was in there, I felt pretty sharp. I had a bad first round. He got attached to me. He kept taking me down. I kept popping back up, taking me down, popping back up. So at the end of the first round, I go back to the corner and I think to myself, I've got to win the next round. If I don't win the next round, I've been beat. You know what I mean? I'm no longer a contender for the show. So obviously your mind's in overdrive and sat back down there I'm like that round, having a little look at him. Does he look tired? I'm like, bastard. So I sat back anyway, and then everyone's not shouting information, but it's information overload and get me breath back. I don't remember what anyone said to me, but I remember just as I was about, and this goes back to why I was. Another reason why I said I thought Edmund was a great coach. Was like just as I was literally about to stand up out of the chair, Edmund goes to me, Mike, you're going to feint the left jab and you're going to throw the right knee. So I remember, and he goes, Mike, listen, you're going to feint the left jab, and that's all he says to me. And as he's walking out the cage, he goes, Mike, you know what to do. He's shouting it to me, Mike, this is it now. You've got to do it now. You've got to do it now. He goes back, and then the bell goes, and he goes, now, Mike. And I just fainted the jab, and as I fainted the jab, Josh, your level changes, and I just remember thinking to myself, oh, he was right, and I've hit him with this right knee, and I've folded him with it, I hit him in his eye, he's gone down, and that single shot won me the fight. I ended up, going on and beating him on a decision. I didn't finish him; he was super tough, but that was the shot. That was the shot that changed. He was on. His momentum was coming. He was, and then we had a back. I beat him in the second round. Back and forth round, but I definitely beat him going to a third round, and I just kind of kept that momentum going and ended up beating him on a decision in the third round. I was disappointed I didn't finish him, because it would have been, winning a fight's boss, but finishing someone's, what you want to do, because it's what the UFC want to see. It's what you want to do. You want to put someone in a position where the referee either has to stop it or you make the guy submit, because that's what you're trained to do. Anyone who tells you otherwise, they're probably lying, because the thrill of finishing someone is the best. So I ended up beating him on a decision, and it was that, and beating him was brilliant though, because it kind of cemented to me that I could go on to win this no problems, because Josh was one of the best guys on their team, if not the best guy on their team, obviously. So at the time I was thinking, there's no reason why I can't win my next fight and then go on to fight in the finale. Obviously things don't always pan out that way, but it was quality. And then you're walking out of there, and then Dana White's Mike, that was an amazing fight. And then you got Nick the Tooth with his he's like, dude, that was sick, man. That knee and all that, and it was just a big buzz, and to entertain all them was a privilege as well. Yeah, it was really good. So, and then after that, I ate well for about 3 hours, and then went back to bed. And then that was it then. The whole process continues. The whole process continues.
So then, as you say, you went on. You fought Chris Holdsworth.
Fought Chris in the semis, Chris beat me. I was gutted. I was gutted, because obviously there's so much involved in it. You're there for so long and things like that. It was hard. It wasn't a nice. It wasn't. It was. And it was my first ever loss. Which I look back now and I think to myself, bloody hell, you made a meal out of that. It weren't that big of a deal. You got beat. You know what I mean? And it never really is. Obviously, at the time, the effort and the sacrifice and things like that you put in, and you don't win. It's heartbreaking. But life goes on. It's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? I'm not ashamed to say I got beat by Chris. He's a brilliant martial artist. Brilliant MMA fighter. It was upsetting. It was devastating. But on the night, I wouldn't say a good weight cut. I don't think I ever had a good wake up, but I made the weight. I'd rehydrated. I felt ready. Turned up on the day. I went out there, gave it my best, and he's a slick guy. And you make mistakes against a guy like that, and you're going to get caught. And I did. I learned a valuable lesson that day. And he beat me. He submitted me in the first round with a rear naked choke. Subsequently went on to win the whole show. And I had a short but successful UFC career after that. He's a talented guy. But yeah, it's hard, as I say, it was hard to take at the time. What kind of made it a little bit better was the day before Chris Holsworth was the day we were going home. Going home. It was the day after we were going home. So the way that it worked out, Davey had fought the day before. Well, didn't fight the day before because Anthony Gutierrez missed weight, so Davey got through to the final, which he was gutted about because he wanted to fight. But he ended up getting through to the final. So I fought Chris. Caught a shot, like a jab in the eye, and I'd sliced my eyelid open, which they wouldn't stitch up at the place. So they said, we're going to have to send you to the eye doctor. So the other girl who was fighting in the semis, I think Sarah Morales, I can't remember who it was. Sarah Morales it was, yeah. She needed to go and get stitches as well. So me and her both sat in the back of the thing, gutted, go to the eye doctor, get stitched up. We got stitched up, and then we went back to the house, and everyone that we've been living with for the last 6 weeks were just gone. Everyone's gone, and I'm looking and I'm going, where's they all gone? I give them, bless them, they'd all packed all the stuff, and they started trying to pack some of my stuff for me. You know what I mean? So I packed all my stuff, and then I got my phone back. I rang Christine, got in touch with Jason, my parents, everyone. And then I was then kind of on the high of I'm going home tomorrow. So then that night it's boss, because you get taken out, dinner takes it out, fussy is made, you get loads of good food. Kind of, I think normally at the end of the season when it's just lads, they took them to Spearmint Rhino or one of the strippers, but obviously you can't do that with half the team being girls, you know what I mean? So he ended up taking us to this place off Fremont Street, which was the first time I'd seen it. You see a few of them now, but it was just an arcade bar. He'd hide the whole bar out, and every game there was available. So that got a bit rowdy,
especially for the gamer.
It wasn't even that; it was the ale. No one's drank for absolutely ages. Dana's having a few drinks with you as well, and then you turn around and you look, and then Davey Grant's trying to double like Dana White. You're going, oh my God, what's going on? So I kind of was still a bit high on adrenaline and still gutted. I knew we were getting picked up quite early to fly back. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to kind of stay out here. But then as time went on, I was looking at Davey and I was thinking, I can't stay out here with Davey. I'm going to have to take him home, you know what I mean? I took Davey home, bless him, got him in his room. And I had to wake him up, help him pack. He was FaceTiming his wife at the time. He's in his undies, bladdered. I know, look at her. This is his wife going, Davey Grant, if you don't get on that plane home, I swear to God. So I'm going, don't worry, I'll get him home. So I ended up getting him home, and I remember him, he fell asleep on the flight. We had a layover flight in Chicago. So we went Vegas to Chicago or somewhere, and then Chicago back home. And he got on the plane at Vegas and fell asleep. And a few hours later, we wake up in Chicago, and we weren't sat next to each other. And I remember looking over to him, and I remember watching him open his eyes and think to himself, how am I here? How am I on this plane kind of thing like that? And then he looked at me and just gave me this as if to say, whoa. So it was a cool experience. Crazy.
Brilliant. And before you said you stay in touch with some of them, do you, from the show?
Yeah, still, not loads. Social media generally, you know what I mean? Follow people and that. But yeah, still speak to Davey quite a bit. Still keep in touch with the rest. Not all of them, but some of them are on social media. After the show, Ronda at the time was going and training. Was obviously training for the Miesha Tate fight, but was filming the Expendables, I think. I can't remember what the latest one anyway, whatever one she was in, and they were filming in Bulgaria. So like I just reached out to her and I was like, listen, I was like, how are you training over there? Like, have you got anyone to train with? And she's like, oh no, not really. I said, listen, like, it's not far for us, a few hours on a plane, you know what I mean? Like, if you want training partners, we'll come over for a week or whatever.
Me
and Jason, not expecting to then get a phone call from LA that night, booking us flights to go to, but to Sofia, Bulgaria.
Wow.
So that was a cool experience as well. Like, you know, obviously, first, Jason's never met. Jason being my coach, he'd never met Ronda before. And Jason's first experience was we landed and we must have got to our hotel like 11:30, 12 o'clock. And Ronda just texted me saying, we're going to run the stairs in the hotel in the morning, meet me downstairs and at 6 a.m. So that was Jason's first experience of Ronda, 6 a.m. up and down the stairs. That's the way she is. She just boom, up and down, bolting up these stairs. You know, and then she'd go and like film on set and then we'd do some training later on. But it was a cool experience. I met some like, you know, met like Sly Stallone, met Jason Statham, Randy Couture, Wesley Snipes, who introduced himself to me as, "Hi, I'm Wes." I was like, I know you're Wesley Snipes, bro. You don't have to pretend, you know what I mean? Like, I'm Mike, you're Wes. So, you know, it was cool.
Could have told him to pay his taxes.
They got the time. It was funny. So, obviously just like starstruck by that. So we trained out there, done quite a bit of training with Victor Ortiz, who famously headbutted Floyd Mayweather. He was a really talented guy. And so we trained out there for, you know, I think it was the best part of a week. Got some good training in, you know, helped to prep for the Miesha Tate fight. At one time she said we were gonna go and run. She got like half a kneecap in both of her knees from that, so she can't do any like level running or running downhill. She can only run uphill. She goes to me, J.O. She goes, listen, we're gonna go and run this mountain, you know, whatever night or whatever. With us three and Victor. Like, oh yeah, sound no problem. So turns up at this mountain. I'm looking at it. That like I'm not the best runner, and you know, so we set off anyway, and obviously it's all uphill. Halfway up, Victor Ortiz bottles it. He goes, "Does he? Yeah, I'm not running up this anymore. I'm going back." No one kind of knows where we are, you know what I mean? And I'm looking at Jason. Jason's looking at me. Ronda's, off in the distance. It's not far. It's up here. It'll be up here. It'll be up here. And you know, there's not a single person in sight. You know what I mean? And then lo and behold, we ended up like managing to get up like to this road that kind of like runs up the mountain. And the guy who was driving us, I think his name was Alex, he come and collected us in the car. But I was thinking to myself, I'm so glad I ran it, and it wasn't the guy that bottled it. You know, Victor never bottled it, but he just thought, not doing this. You know what I mean?
He definitely bottled it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, might have bottled it. But
do you still stay in touch with Ronda now?
Not really. No, I haven't spoken to her for ages. Just like, you know, social media is the main way, really, isn't it? To get in touch with people, and you know, she's got like however many million followers and things like that. So it's not like you can just like, you know, inbox and say, oh, how are you getting on or whatever, because it's probably, you know, not even millions are doing it. So no, I haven't spoken to her for a while, but yeah, and like as I say, I still speak to some of the others occasionally.
Brilliant, but because it's a proper unique experiences have all gone through, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it was unique, and you know, excuse me, I don't know what the future holds for the Ultimate Fighter. With regards to like any more shows, I know they've done them since I was on it. But it was, you know, I grew up early on in my career watching, you know, when I was fighting, you know, when I was a kid, you know, watching the Ultimate Fighter and you know, watching the coaches on it, and you know, some of the fighters from the early, you know like Nick and Nate Diaz, those guys, and they were on, you know, those guys were on it, and trained with Nick Diaz. Trained with Nick or Nate? That's bad. I can't believe that. I've got to ask the question. Trained with Nate Diaz over there because that was like one of Ronda's, you know, guest coaches. Trained with him. Gilbert Melendez trained with. I didn't train with Gilbert because I was making weight the same day, but like, you know, everyone else got to train with Gilbert Melendez. You know, all these people who you grow up watching, and you kind of get an opportunity to train with them, and you know, it's a surreal experience. And then obviously there's the experience of going through it and being away, and you know, it's a well-oiled machine, though. You know, it is like you don't miss a beat. You know, like you're training, you're training every day. Is that time? You know, you're always back by this time. All the little events that they have. They used to like you get like a weekly schedule put up on a Sunday or a Monday, and it'd have like, you know, your training times and that, but then they'd have like a little section which would say like event or something, which you kind of knew was like a coach's challenge, or you'd be going somewhere to watch a set of fights or whatever. They've done another one with Harley Davidson where like I think all the semi-finals got taken to like this aircraft hangar, and like, you know, you got filmed like, because you can think the winners win a Harley as well, so like you got filmed like sitting on Harleys and all that. At the time I was like dehydrated to death. I think I was making weight the next day, so I was like it was the hottest recorded spring in Vegas' history when we were there, right? I remember one night coming out, obviously everywhere's air conditioned. I remember going and thinking to myself, I'll just put my feet in the pool, and put my foot in the pool. It was like putting your foot in a hot bath. I was like, wow, what's this? It's like, this is the way. It was like 12 at night, you know what I mean? It was like hot. It was, the pool was physically hot. The pool had always been quite cool. So, but it was like, if you weren't in an aircon place, you were just immediately and then when you're dehydrating as well, it's not the easiest.
So what was Dana like then?
Dana was cool. Yeah, he was cool. I mean, you didn't see him every day. You seen him like at the fights. You see him at fights, and then you see him at like some of the at some of like the little events, things that you'd have. But no, he was cool. He was, you know, always kind of like willing to chat and things like that. And obviously he's a busy guy. He doesn't really spend forever waffling on to you about, you know, this, that, and the other. But obviously when you're on there, you feel like, you know, when you see Dana White, you're like, oh my God, it's Dana. Yeah. I'm on season 18. He's like, I'm on season 18 here. Like, I've seen you guys come and go, you know what I mean? So he spends time with you, but, you know, he's obviously he's a busy guy. You know, he's cool. He gets, like, obviously pissed when, like, people miss weight. Like, I remember, so it was a shame, really, because Cody Bollinger, you know, probably he was on the opposite team to us. He was one of like the favourites to win it. Cody, he like had a massive pedigree. I think he'd fought in like Bellator and things like that before. You know, really, really experienced guy, good all rounder, like really strong wrestling pedigree. I just couldn't stop eating, man. Like I remember I lied through the whole show about my weight. I never told anyone how heavy I was, because they had these communal scales in the hall, and anytime anyone stepped onto the scales, the camera crew, bang, would be over there. Yeah. So like I'm like clocking people, and I'm going, oh yeah, he's like 11 pound over, he's 10 pound over, and I'm like stood on the scales I had stashed in the bathroom. One of the housemates, Tim, he's hilarious. He tore his hamstring on the fight the fight to get in the house. Yeah. So Dana said, listen, you've got to go home. So like he was in a room with me and Davey. So he's like, you know, I've got to go, blah blah blah. So he pulls out a set of scales that he stashed in his bag. He goes, these are 0.3 of a pound out. So I was like, sound, boom, stashed them in my bathroom. I was like, no one's getting their hands on them. Like, I'm not weighing myself. Look, so everyone else was weighing themselves 10, 11 pound out. And I'm like, standing on my scales in the morning. I'm like, after the weigh, I'm going, come on, be 16 pound out. And I'm like, bastard, 18. Like, you know, I had to make like 135. Like, I was doing well to see 155. Like, I was always big for the weight, and I was in shape. But towards that point in my career, I just got like, I think too big. You know, I was still in my mid-20s. I was still growing. I got too big for the weight, so I refused to weigh myself on them scales. So anytime Ronda or anyone was asking me about my weight, I was like, oh yeah, you know, I'm about like 147 like that, and I'm like 154. Like, there's just no way that I wanted to tell them. So that was quite a funny part of it, because obviously everyone would be, you know, weighing themselves. I'd be completely lying about my weight, and then the weight cuts would be like the weight cuts would just be extreme, to the point where, you know, obviously everyone's a bit dramatic when they cut weight, but to the point where you think to yourself, you know, I might die here. this might be something that happens here. You know, this could be the last few minutes, but like I had the weight cut to get on the show was like the worst weight cut I've ever had in my life. Like I fainted before I'd even started to cut weight, just through low blood sugar. Someone knocked on the door, and I was that excited to see on the hotel door, that excited to see what was going on. I jumped up, and I woke up at the bottom of the door with my hand on the handle, just like on the floor like this. And I remember just opening my eyes and going, oh, like I haven't even started dehydrating yet, and I've already fainted. But that was brutal. I think the doctor, like, who, you know, I'm talking about this now. I'm definitely, you know, I've done it. I would never, ever, ever suggest anyone to do it.
Yeah,
all the lads in the gym now, the young up and coming lads, like I'm always like, listen, no, you don't need to do that. Go the weight class above. Because I know what it can do to you, and the state you put yourself, what you put yourself through. Yeah. It is dangerous. So I was surprised the doctor even cleared me because so I managed to make the weight. Everyone's like looking at you, you have to say like, "Wow, who's this guy?" Like he wasn't the one that was at the trials, you know what I mean? Like I looked like a smackhead, and then you see, I was in a bad way, and then like it's like dead hard to just walk, like dead hard. Like, when you start cutting loads of weight, like things like heart rate is through the roof, like permanently, like you feel like your heart's about to explode out of your chest. You can't hear things properly, like everything's super high pitched, and you can't physically look at people because. It's weird. It's like both of your eyes are trying to do different things. Like if I was to look at you, for example, for like 5 seconds, at the end of the 5 seconds, I just have to take my eyes off you and look back. So it's just the weirdest sensation. And then you stand up, you start walking, you feel like you're going to pass out. So like I've made the weight, and I had like a rehydration process that I like to do after I made weight. Like go through a few different things that I do to try before I'd even consider eating. So they put you in this room after you've made weight with like the biggest spread you've ever seen. Like there's more food and Gatorade than you've ever seen in your life. And I'm like there, and I'm like that's sipping on me water with salt in, and I'm like, oh my god. And then I look at a little bit of melon, and I start like going, oh, I'm gonna eat this melon. I eat like at the tiniest amounts of stuff, and like you go right. So in an hour we're leaving, and we're gonna do the fight picks, and I'm like, I'm in no shape to pick no fight at the moment in an hour. So I went, right, I need to go back to my room. So I stood up in front of the room of every contestant there, started walking to go out, and just projectile vomited. Like I just went bucket, and just managed to grab projectile vomited into this bucket, walked out the room and fainted, boom, face down like that. Woke up, this guy called Dr. Davis has got me, sat me up against the wall like that. Everyone else has gone at this point, and this Dr. Davis is like going to me, you're going to be okay, Anyway, got myself sorted, managed to get back to my room, went and done the fight picks, and then the same doctor was the one who gave me the post-fight medical afterwards, that he just looked at me and went to me like, you're lucky I even let you fight, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to like, as I say, I've done it, and I would never try and like brag about it or anything like that, because that's what I'm always saying to like up-and-coming fighters now. It's so important that like, if you do these, cutting weight is a natural part. You are going to have to cut a little bit of weight. You shouldn't be having to, boil yourself in a bath or a sauna to the point of near death. It's a shame in MMA because the weight categories are so spaced out, so wide. I might be a big lightweight, but if I went up to welterweight, I'd be tiny. But for me to get to lightweight, I have to kill myself. So it is hard. So I do think, especially in some of the weight divisions, you should try and start implementing an in-between weight category. I think so as well. It'll just a bit safer for everyone.
So in your MMA career then, Mike, you went 9-0, which is a brilliant record if we're being honest about it. Why did you stop?
I stopped because so I got out of the Ultimate Fighter, and kind of when I got out, they were kind of, everyone was like, Mike, you've done so well on the show, like you're going to get a shot on the finale. Obviously, at the time, I was naive, and I was like, oh, this is it. I'm going to get to fight in the finale at least, get to fight in the finale, do well, good chance you're going to get a contract, blah, blah, blah. So when I got told I wasn't fighting on the finale, I was gutted, you know what I mean? Sean Shelby had emailed and was like, listen, Mike, we really do want you, but the division's so busy at the moment. I'd maybe just go and have another fight, and then, we'll be in touch again. So it did. I went and had another fight. I beat like a French guy, Anton Gallinaro it was. I finished him, which I was happy with, because the 2 fights before then I hadn't finised the guys, which was always nice. I beat him, and then straight back up. Sean, I've just beat this guy, blah, blah, blah. Like, obviously, done professionally through managers and all that. But he said no again, Mike, we're top of the list, blah, blah, blah. We really want you. Have another fight. So I went away and I had another fight. I beat another guy, Peter Ligier. He met, back again, back and forth. And, anyway, they weren't ready to take me on. So at the time, I was buying house, buying a house with my wife. So I was like, well, anyway, either way, regardless, I'm going to take a couple of months off, sink a bit of time and effort into this house. Pick up where I left off afterwards. And in that space of time, a couple of months led to a lot longer because the house ended up taking ages. In that space of time, I was able to live, a bit more of a normal life. And, basically since I was 17 until mid to late 20s, I'd kind of always had some form of fight coming up or some form of prep, or I couldn't really do that because I might be fighting soon and I can't, I'm too heavy, so I can't. So I was able to kind of live a bit of a normal life. I picked up on my coaching more. I was doing a lot more private tuition. Started having a bit of money because the Ultimate Fighter, it's great experience, but you don't come away with much money out of it. They give you a salary every week, but by the time you get to the end of it and they take their cut out of it, the tax and things like that, you're not really left with with much. And then I'm fighting on BAMMA at the time, which UK MMA organisations aren't paying you, a lot of money. Even if you come off the back of a show like that, I got paid £1,500. I got paid £1,000 or £1,500, I can't remember, to fight. And if I won, I got another £500, which it could be £1,500 or it could be £2,000. But that's 8 weeks of you're committing yourself to 8 weeks. You're putting yourself through a lot. You're risking a lot. You're not really, you're not going to be able to do much with that because by the time, things are paid and all that kind of stuff, it's expensive. And it's expensive to live well and prepare properly, you know what I mean? Pay for your physios and all that. So, I started picking up my coaching, was earning a little bit more money. And I got into the house and I was like, I'm going to get back to it, continue training. And I just kind of felt like the life that I was living, I wanted to, I put so much off, so many holidays, so many good experiences because I just wanted to fight. I wanted to fight and I wanted to win. And I wasn't one of these guys that could kind of go, I'll, we'll go out, I'll have a few drinks or, I was in it to win it. So if I was fighting, I wasn't eating or I wasn't drinking or, so I lived a really kind of strict life for a while and just experiencing normal life afterwards. I enjoyed it a little bit more and I just didn't really get that kind of desire and urge to get back and compete. So I continued to train, but I was earning, I was starting to earn a wage that I'd never really earned, you know what I mean? I had my own house now, I had bills, and I never really felt like that kind of desire and that urge. I definitely haven't fell out of love with it because I love what I do now. I coaching, but and I love the competition, but I just don't feel like I could or would be willing again to put myself through what's required. Because it's you have to put yourself.
It's
through
a lot, isn't it?
You do have to put yourself and your loved ones through a lot. And it just kind of got to the point with me where I was like, you know what, I just feel like there's more to life for me at the moment. Than competition. I'd probably be saying differently if I wasn't coaching and I was leaving, working in an office and I wasn't in the gym. I'd probably be like, I need to get back. But I'm so lucky, I get to, help people prep for their fights, train my own clients, watch the lads progress, corner them at fights, be part of their journey as well and help kind of put, my knowledge across to them.
I think it's brilliant that you've noticed yourself that you didn't want to put yourself back through that, but you've stayed in the sport to give the up-and-coming people the advantages you probably never had at that time. You've been through all them experiences and you're passing your knowledge on to them. I think that's great, though.
I appreciate that. I mean, it is definitely something that, martial arts for me, I started it when I was 6 and, as I said, maybe the traditional martial arts that I've done hasn't crossed over into MMA, but I think the traditional martial arts that I've done has definitely given me a love for martial arts, whether it be Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, sports of boxing, kickboxing, Thai boxing, wrestling, and respect for what's required to, develop and get good at it. But just being able to kind of do it day in, day out for so long and then come away and be able to, martial arts has given me a career from fighting, but it's also given me a career for life from coaching and things like that. as I say, I've been working. I said to you earlier, didn't I? I've been working elsewhere through the pandemic, but I'm back. I am going back to the gym and I'm back in there full time, and it's I'm so fortunate to be able to do that because I know everyone's job is their job, but I do genuinely love my job, and the lads who are coaching, I know they love their jobs as well. Obviously, we have days where body go whatever, but being able to do something that you love and you kind of put so much time into, in one form or the other, I am lucky, and I'm always grateful for it. So, yeah, as I say, like helping the lads, it'd probably be different for me if I was kind of just in an office job and I was a little bit on the sidelines. But I get to train all the time. Not all the time. I should train more than I do. But I do get to train a lot. I get to train with the people that are competing and the up and coming amateurs and the current pros and things like that, and let them batter me nowadays. It's good.
Yeah, so I've been lucky enough, obviously, Mike. I've done a number of sessions with yourself, which I really enjoyed. And I think one of the things I realised when I first come into the MMA Academy, because I've never had no experience at all of MMA. So obviously at the door, and I feel like if someone's going into an MMA gym, you're thinking, I'm going to go in here, everyone's going to just choke me out, and you know what I mean, basically bully you on, you've got all these things going through your head. But I think as soon as I went there and met yourself, felt at ease straight away. But not only that, you get this sense of a community in the MMA Academy, and that's a credit to obviously yourself, the coaches, and everyone who trains in there. But what was it like for you of transferring over from being a fighter in the MMA Academy to being a coach within there?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, Lennart. No, I think definitely what you say about it being a community, it is, and it's a community and it's a team. I remember ages ago writing about it on my social media. Like, until you are part of it, like you won't really understand it, because we're not just turning up and doing a few bicep curls. People flog themselves, and they do, and they put themselves through a lot, and to see them develop the skill set, be able to put it into practice, and then win, whether it be in competition or even just get promoted to the next belt, or any kind of personal development within it. It's good to see, because you see what they go through, and in MMA nothing's given. Like, you're not just gifted it by just turning up a number of times, getting a pass stamped and paying your grading fee. In our gym, if you're going to get promoted by Jason in jiu-jitsu, it's because you're good enough to be it. If Peter's going to put you forward for a grade and then Thai or kickboxing or whatever, it's because you're good enough. If you're going to get asked to fight for the gym, it's because you're good enough. We're not just going to give anyone the opportunity to fight, because it's a serious sport. You can get in it. It's dangerous. So going from competing and kind of being able to come over into that coaching role, it's been really good for me, because I've kind of been able to share, obviously my experience from competing, and my, obviously you have a lot of knowledge of competition, but you have a lot of knowledge of skills, and how to kind of implement them. And I've been lucky, because I kind of remember in school I'd done GCSE PE, and you've done loads of stuff about coaching. And I started like coaching a little bit to rugby to kids and things like that, and I think it comes quite naturally to some people, and it doesn't come naturally to others. And I think I'm quite fortunate that I'm able to explain things quite well to people and break things down, and I think that comes through the people who've taught me, the way I've been taught by people as well, and how I like to be taught, like systematically, it all broken down, and then you get the opportunity to try it as a whole. So yeah, I think like I've been lucky in that sense, because obviously I've been taught well. You know what I mean? Like, I was taught well. I was taught the right stuff, how to do it, how not to do it, and then I can kind of pass that over. So It's been a boss experience. Like, from a personal level, doing my own one-to-ones, it's given me a career. Like, being able to earn money and see my own clients develop. But then, helping the lads who've got fights coming up and things like that, put your knowledge over to them as well is really good. So it's been boss. I'm grateful for it. Like, I am grateful for
it. So during lockdown, all the gyms are shut. How have you coped with not being in the gym, not being around, what your day-to-day job, doing all that type of stuff?
On the sly, I have been in the gym. Not doing anything illegal before anyone jumps on the bandwagon. Because obviously professional athletes are being able to train, not all the way through it, but when Boz have said, professional athletes can get back to training, I've been lucky enough to still be able to train with them, and be able to kind of help them still prep, because there have still been a few kind of towards the end of the last lockdown, not the one gone, the one before, there was a fight show scheduled. I think a lot of promoters were trying to find ways to get shows going, which was good and bad because, good if the lads managed to get on the show and get matched and the actual event happened, but also bad because so many fight camps happened and no fights at the end of it. Just so many, lads killing themselves, prepping themselves, dieting all the time, doesn't end up happening. So, it's been frustrating for them all. I had one lad on the weekend just gone on cage steel, Conor Hughes. He won the cage steel lightweight amateur title, done really well. Performance by him. That was all ran, professionally. Everyone got had to get tested. I think before. I think they went in, and then everyone warmed up outside, and then only 2 cuts. So it was ran really well. But yeah, I've been lucky. I've been able to go in and help the lads prep and do a little bit of training with them myself. So it's not been too bad. Not as much as I'd like to because I've been working, a different job as well. But fingers crossed things will start to go back to normal now, and there's no more lockdowns. Everyone can progress with life, and the lads can progress with the fights, and things can kind of get back to normal.
So what do you do away from the gym then? What's a typical day away from the gym?
Not a lot, I'm quite, not particularly boring, but there's not that much, not that much goes on. If I'm in the gym, I'll be in there. Normal days are normally Tuesday to Saturday. I have Sunday and Monday off. Spend a little bit of time, at home, chilling, house jobs, things like that. Time with my wife. There's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing massive outside of it. Yeah, I think one thing, we're all a little bit weird. Like everyone in the gym, everyone's a little bit obsessive. Can become a little. Well, I know I was for a long time. I'm not so bad now, but. Everyone becomes a little bit obsessed, you know what I mean? And it kind of just tends to be the one thing. Generally, general stuff going out for food, things like that. But, I haven't got nothing crazy that goes on outside. I did grow loads of vegetables for ages. I remember a while ago. But I've slowed down on that. But that's it, really. Not much.
So what would you say the future holds for yourself?
Future holds, get back in the gym, keep coaching, keep coaching, helping the gym develop, helping the gym grow. Who knows, eh? Who knows? Just to kind of wait and see. Just take every day kind of as it comes. And
so then, Mike, you mentioned Conor Hughes before. I know we had to go to win over the weekend. Is there any other fighters in the MMA Academy we should be looking out for? Because I know there's some great fighters in there. Yeah,
there's loads. There's loads. I mean, the current pros, Lars Fitz, Mike Bowman, those guys. Couple of injuries at the moment, but those lads are absolute killers. Loz is one of the, I still say it to this day, probably one of the best all-round martial artists I've ever trained with. His knowledge and his ability to kind of implement things is I think one of the best people I've ever trained with. I've trained with some good people, and I think he's a beast. And then the young up and coming lads. There's loads of them. As say Conor Hughes, Mike Tomo. Coming towards the end of their amateur career, looking to kind of probably start to go into the pro ranks soon.
What happened to Tomo? Was injury?
Tomo, he's been really unfortunate. He's kind of had when he was dieting, something's caused him to have a blockage in his bowel, which he's gone to the hospital with. This is 10 days before he's meant to fight. He's gone to the hospital with, and they fobbed him off, and then he's ended up in agony, vomiting blood. So they've scanned him and said, "Listen, you're going to need surgery. We think you're going to need surgery, but it might pass. You're going to stay in." He's been in a bad way with it. They've ended up, unfortunately, he needed surgery. Obviously, not fighting, but focus for him now is just kind of getting back fit and healthy. And then we've got some really young lads kind of coming up, late teens, early 20s. That I look at them and I think to myself, my lord, I was nowhere near as good as you guys are. When I was your age, that's what I was saying. What young people have at the disposal nowadays with local MMA gyms, good local, good MMA gyms. You know what I mean? Put yourself in there. You know, trust the process. You know, just turn up, train. You will get better.
Yeah.
And you know, when you do come to compete, if that's something that you want to do, you know, you'll do well. So many people rush into it and are like, I want to do it, you know, next month or this, that, and the other. But, you know, you've just got to kind of like focus on it, trust, you know, just turn up and train, and then eventually you'll get better. And this is what these kids have got at their disposal. They've got, you know, high level coaching from, you know, every different aspect of martial arts. And they can turn up, you know, a lot of them are young, still live at home. They turn up, they train once a day, twice a day. And like, you know, you roll with them 1 month and like, you know, oh yeah, you know, they were all right, and then you roll with them 2 months later, and the next minute they're on your back, and you're like, whoa, like where's this come from? You know, like I need to train more. These guys are catching up. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, as I say, like they have so much kind of so much good stuff available to them nowadays. You know, so all I'd say to anyone kind of like who's got aspirations to ever compete in MMA or any kind of combat sport, just like do a bit of research, you know, find a gym that works for you, like, you know, a gym with reputable coaches that have got experience competing, or, you know, I've got experience of creating good athletes and good fighters, and, you know, turn up there and just do what they tell you to do, you know. You will not know better. I know some people do think that they do, and they go, but I'm different because, listen, just turn up and train, you know what I mean? Yeah. Turn up, put the rounds in, work hard, show you're willing, you know, show you're willing to put the work in, and, you know, if it happens, it happens, you know, you probably will end up getting there, but, you know, it's not for everyone, it's tough, you know, it's a tough sport, but that's what I'd say to anyone who's kind of wanting to, you know, pursue a career in combat sports. You know, I think probably any you know, Jazz will probably tell you the same. You know, Derry will probably tell you the same. People, you know, you've had on or will have on who just turn up and train, and at some point, you know what I mean. You know, you're probably going to be able to fight at least as an amateur. You know? That was a whole new thing. But if you put the work in, you'll be able to get there. Definitely.
Great,
brilliant. So, Mike, this part of the show, we do quick fire questions.
Yeah.
So we'll start you off with a nice one.
Go on.
Who's the best trainer in the gym?
In the gym? Oh, God. Jason Tan. There you go. That's quite a diplomatic answer.
Is that one to keep your job? Is it one of them ones?
It really is.
Here we go then. Who's the worst trainer in the gym?
Who's the worst trainer in the gym? Oh, God. I can't even... You know what? They're all spot on. I can't... There's no one that I can really say.
We're not allowed to skip it, you know?
That's what I mean. We'll ask it off here. All right, then. Your favourite sport and idol? Growing up or now or both?
Oh, sport and idol? That's a good question. I'm not going to be very quick with this one. I'm probably going to have to think about it.
Yeah.
Favourite sport and idol growing up? You know what? I was big into me rugby when I was a kid. I remember watching the Rugby World Cup final when England beat Australia. Is that right?
Yeah.
And at the time, it was Johnny Wilkinson. So when I was a kid, Johnny Wilkinson was the boy to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, he was probably one of the earliest sporting kind of idols.
Brilliant. Favourite film?
Favourite film? I mean, I'm telling Christine would always say this. You never got a favourite. You never got a favourite. Favourite film for me? Well, you know what? It's a good film, but for me, it was the experience. I went to see Inception in the Odeon back in the day. I think I might have even seen it on an IMAX. I remember like it just blowing me away. You know what I mean? It was a good film, but it was like seeing it on the big screen. You know. Yeah. So I'll say that.
Not the Expendables 3, no.
Not the Expendables 3, no. Maybe if my name would have come up in the credits, but no, definitely not the Expendables 3.
Musical guilty pleasure. No,
ABBA.
Where I'm
that was
you blew me away.
That was
the thing. You know, my wife got me into a big time. We got married. We got married abroad. We got married abroad, right? So we got married abroad, and at the time, what is it now? The musical, Mamma Mia, the musical.
Mamma Mia.
the second one was coming out of Christine, right, bless her. We watched, I'd not seen the first one, or I hadn't seen it for years, so we watched that in the day, and on the cinema, on the pictures that night, Mamma Mia 2 was out.
Yeah.
So we then went that night to see Mamma Mia 2 as well. But yeah, my love for ABBA comes through my wife, but yeah, I'm into them.
Well done for admitting that.
Yeah, it's okay, mate.
If someone could play it in a movie, who would it be?
Someone could play me in a movie.
And you can't see your mate Wesley Snipes.
Yeah. I am Wes. Someone could play me in a movie. Someone like an old school Harrison Ford. Guy. Yeah, like Indiana Jones days and things like that.
You are saying,
to play it as a movie.
Okay, man, I'm a bit quicker then.
Go on. Well, listen, I'm not the quickest.
Yeah, I'll put the money because I will just be on you. So, Liverpool or Everton?
Liverpool.
Fury or Joshua?
Fury.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Well, I'm not the biggest football fan, so Messi.
McGregor or Poirier? 3.
I'm going to go with McGregor. Think he can change it up and do it.
Jones or Ngannou?
Ngannou. I'm going to say Ngannou. He's a beast.
Night in or night out?
Night in.
If you wasn't a fighter in MMA, what would you have been? And why?
Why? Oh, maybe like I was obsessed with becoming a Royal Marine when I was a kid. It was one of the first books I'd ever read. Was this pamphlet of this guy on how to pass the Royal Marine selection test. So maybe if I was young, something like that. Nowadays, if it wasn't, maybe like the fire service or something like that. Yeah, so it would have been something that's interested me.
Well, it's been brilliant to have you on, Mike. Thanks very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Like, really enjoyable podcast. So thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
And I wish you all the best in your future training career as well.
Nice one, lads. Yeah. Cheers, boys. Thanks
very much. Nice one.